Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Hello, Adam. Welcome back, Tattoo Mike.
How's it going? I got my tattoo over the weekend. Did you?
No, I haven't agreed to that.
Please don't show us.
It's not suitable for this show.
That's what I figured.
Where it is or what it is or both?
Both.
You have to ask that. You already know the answer, Trace.
I thought for sure it would be the Sons of UCF logo on one of the biceps that you boast of.
That's next. Maybe we should do that together.
Welcome back, though, Mike. No, I haven't agreed to that, by the way, and we're a long ways away from 10,000 YouTube subscribers. I like that high mark that we set out there, that it's not going to happen anytime soon.
I believe Mike was right, though. We need an end date on this. We need a cutoff where if we don't have 10,000 by July 4th, that this thing is cut off. I do think we need to put some guardrails around this, because Robert seems way too motivated to make this happen, and that concerns me.
How about 10,000 before the men's basketball team makes the tournament? What happens first? We get 10,000 before the team makes the tournament?
Wow.
Do we do it?
Early.
So,
okay.
It could be indefinite, is what you're saying. There's no real deadline.
It could go on for years.
On this. Some breaking news, Mike. I'm sure you've dialed into this one. Running back Woody Barrett has announced he will be not returning to the Knights. Will participate in UCF's Pro Day on April 1. It's Woody Barrett. Did he get any playing time this past season?
It's the first time I've ever heard that name.
I knew
That's not true, Mike. He was the quarterback, I believe. I think he came from Kent State, right? He was the quarterback. He came to UCF as a running back. Wore number 24, which was Montavious Thompson's number, but I don't believe he cracked the blades of grass this year, unfortunately. Big kid, though, if I remember correct.
Still never heard of him. You're not bringing back any memories.
Even after we've told you about it. We started this about a year ago, and can you believe it that today is the 1-year anniversary of Josh Heupel's hiring in Tennessee, and UCF reaping a couple of $1 million out of the deal. 1 year since Josh Heupel left us, and I don't recall there being too much sadness across Night Nation over that one.
Yeah, happy Heupel Day, everybody. Obviously, look, I think Heupel had a bit of a love-hate relationship with a lot of the fan base. They lamented some of his play calling, some of his recruiting tactics were certainly called into question. He did hold the offense together, and this year when we were struggling to cobble 16 points against the likes of ECU and Tulane, we were certainly calling for that offense. But ultimately, I think this is one of those rare win-wins. I think Tennessee got what they wanted. They got some excitement. They got some offense, and UCF got some stability in Gus Malzahn and a little bit of a charge forward in recruiting. So kind of the rare win-win. I guess maybe UCF comes out on top because we netted a couple million from it. But overall, I think a win-win for everybody, really.
We're all happy about it now, but on the day it happened, we were all a little bit in shock. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know who the next coach was going to be. A year later, we feel a little more comfortable now. We see the direction of the program. We see the way recruiting's been going. So we can all take a little deep breath now. Hopefully Malzahn's here for a long time. That's the next question, because the last two coaches have been here for 2 years and out. So this is his second year coming up.
Fair, Mike. It was also coming off the heels of Danny White leaving. So the search for an athletic director, search for a head coach, a great deal of uncertainty in what was a very difficult stretch of 6-8 weeks for UCF. Mackenzie Milton transferring to FSU, just a whole series of things. It's funny how all of that has stabilized in a short period of time. We get asked a question later in the Suns mailbag about grading Terry Mohajir. One of the things he's working on, Orlando Sentinel reporting today that UCF and the AAC working on their separation agreement, still looking at a target date of 2023. Commissioner Mike Oresco, you remember him, still AAC commissioner, says the clock is ticking. We've had ongoing discussions with the group, and they've been very amicable. He holds the cards. You want out early, you're going to have to pony up more money. So that's still looking like it might be 2023. Maybe we'll hear something here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've said before, it's going to come down to who's got the most money and who's got the better lawyers, because obviously this is going to go to a negotiation phase at some point. The interesting domino will be the SEC and Oklahoma, Texas. Are they going to try to get it early? What's the fee they have to pay? I think that's a domino that falls at some point, but this is going to be decided in the boardroom and in an office versus anywhere else. So we'll see who's got the better lawyer and who's got the Happy Gilmore style check that they can walk in a room with.
I'm still optimistic we'll be in the Big 12 by 2023. I've thought that since the beginning, and I see no reason to think otherwise so far.
It will be without Woody Barrett, Mike. Former UCF running back will not be a part of it. Good luck to Darren Hinshaw, previous guest, right, on the Sons of UCF podcast?
No,
you didn't get him. I thought you had him at one point.
We had Tyson at one point on the Alabama anniversary show, but Darren has been elusive. So,
well, now he's gone from analyst at UCF to analyst at UAB.
Well, he's going to have to slot behind Woody Barrett's appearance on the show, but we will certainly try to get him there. Not surprising, obviously, it wasn't announced, but I imagine that there's other important things going on at the UCF football facility right now in Gus Malzahn's life right now to talk about that. But the thinking was with the opening after GJ Kinney lifts that potentially Hinshaw would be in line for that. He didn't get that, of course, as Chip Lindsey came in, kind of writing potentially on the wall at that point.
Well, you talk about things going on at the UCF football complex. The Hometown Hero event this weekend, Saturday noon, welcoming in juniors, class of 2023 guys. We got a question. Normally I'd throw this in the mailbag, but I think it's pertinent in relationship to this event that UCF is hosting this weekend. At Joe Powell A, is Gus expected to attend the Hometown Heroes event? He hasn't seen any updates on Christie, doesn't know if Gus has been away. Past few weeks, what his connection now is with this event. I think that is a big question that goes into this event. A lot of recruits are posting on their social media that they're coming. It's been now 10 days since we've gotten any sort of update, any release from UCF. You can only imagine that means that families kept things close and, been difficult, challenging days for them. But it would be interesting to see if Gus makes it out to that Hometown Hero event this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you hope he can make it, right? Because that would hopefully signal that things are maybe trending in a positive state for his wife. Ultimately, though, if they're not, I hope he doesn't go. I hope his priorities should be with his family, with his wife. Obviously, there's a lot of different players and coaches that'll be at the event that continues to sell UCF. So, I hope he's there because to me that would signal a sign that maybe things are trending in the right direction. But I fully anticipate and hope that he stays with his wife and does what he needs to do as a husband first, because that's obviously the top priority.
That's right. And the other guys on this staff are capable of handling this event. T. Will, Herb Hand, the rest of the staff, those are the big-time recruiters, Ice Harris, all those guys. So I'm just praying for Christy. Hopefully she recovers soon, and hopefully Gus is able to make it. If he's there, I take that as a good sign that she's doing okay at least.
Yeah, it's just going to be something to look for, and whether there are some announcements that he made some appearances out there Saturday. Mike, do you have February 17th circled on your calendar? That's when the Zoom meeting is for walk-on tryouts. You have to first participate in that Zoom meeting. What's your eligibility situation like? Because you certainly are a great couch coach.
Yeah, I think I'm completely out of eligibility. I had 4 years of college. I went to grad school after that, so I think I'm out. Ouch. Even though I never participated in any sports, though, does that make a difference? I don't know. I don't know what the actual rules are. I think I'm done though. I'm 41 years old. I'm not kidding.
I like that we finally got to your age as a disqualifier after we went through all of the other reasons that perhaps. What would you try out for, though, Mike?
I never played organized football in my life, so I can't really. I don't know what position. I'm too small now to play anything. To be honest, I weigh 185 pounds. What am I going to play? I'm not fast. Who knows if I can catch? What do you want me to do? I can't even be the long snapper. Let's put it that way. That's a skill I don't have. So I don't know. I don't know. I could be the get back coach.
I think you should hop on the Zoom because, as Robert says, Mike, tell Gus about your 5K experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 5K is coming up again. I just saw the Run UCF group that posted it. They will be doing it again in April. So start training now. Get all the excuses out of the way. I choose not to run. Don't drop any weights on your feet.
I may choose not to run this year in true Seinfeldian fashion. It's Adam's turn.
Yeah, so last year, if you recall, I had broken the toe at that point, so I was not able to participate. So I am training vigorously to get back on the course. And so I hope to be able to participate this year. Hopefully we get a Sons UCF group again. That was really fun last year. We got our name on the T-shirts. We got a lot of guys out there, a lot of folks who want to run. I think we give away a hat at some point. I don't know if we have any of those left.
We give away a hat for everything. I don't think it's an exclusive.
That's also fair. So we will.
I still owe a hat to the guy that won the pick'em challenge for the regular season. I haven't sent his yet.
I'll rummage through the prize closet and see what's left there. But definitely looking forward to maybe get back in a 5K race this year.
Well, we're turning over on football to reviewing the offensive line. I asked on our poll question this week, grade the offensive line. 71% said good. Curious the reaction of our first guest as we talk about the makeup of that offensive line. Who's gone? Who's coming back? Former offensive lineman Aaron Evans joins us now on the Sons of UCF Live. Aaron, welcome in.
Hi, happy to be here. How are y'all doing?
Doing well. What do you think? 71% of folks said that the 2021 offensive line they would rank as good. Does good seem like the right grade for what you saw as you watch UCF football in 2021?
I would say good is an accurate grade overall. I think there's definitely areas of improvement overall in pass protection. Give the quarterback a little more time over in the run game. I think they're pretty consistent, but again, I think there's definitely room for improvement. And I've told that to Sam Jackson. I know we're going to talk about him a little bit.
How did Sam take that advice?
He knows. I'm the same guy I was when I played, in that mindset, where perfection is the standard, and then you just work towards that, and anything beneath that is just okay, and it's okay, but you got to keep trying to improve and always wanting to move forward, always wanting to grow. So I think that we have a lot of areas to improve upon, and I think that's actually exciting.
Aaron, can we start a conversation about Matt Lee and how consistent he's been at the center position? Obviously, for a sophomore now, we lost Jordan Johnson. He was a fantastic center. A lot of questions about Matt Lee. Had one game as a freshman who struggled, but by and large, he's been probably the most consistent O-lineman we've had. What do you see when you watch Matt Lee, and how good, for those who don't really watch the intricacies, how good is Matt Lee?
For someone to be able to step into that role as a young player, like sort of as Jordan Johnson did, it's really hard to do. I don't think people really realize how much of a keystone that center can be and is. So like to be able to step in, hold your own, especially there's usually strength disparities at that age, and for you to be able to hold your own and handle your business is pretty impressive. So I think it's promising, and he definitely has a bright future to grow into at that position.
Obviously, every year in college, there's turnover. We're losing a couple key pieces. Cole Schneider is going to be gone next year. We got some transfers coming in. How long does it take for an offensive line to really start to gel together? Is that something that can be done in an off season, or it's not going to be till halfway through the season where they're really rolling?
I think they can do it in the off season, but they need to prioritize the relationships as a whole, getting close to one another, learning how to trust one another, because you need to be able to, especially as a center or guard, you need to be able to look to your right and your left and know that someone's going to be protecting you when there's a twist, a game, a movement, linebacker blitzing, whatever it may be. You need to be able to trust that they are on their P's and Q's. So that takes a lot of chemistry building. I think they can do it prior to the season, but that takes intentionality and diligence. And I don't know. I've talked to Sam. Sam knows he's a veteran now, and I think he will step into that role of leadership where he can kind of wrangle the guys together and create that culture again. But I think if they focus on it and are intentional about it, they can do it before season. If they're not, it's gonna take couple of games to get under their belt before they actually have that cohesiveness.
The O-line stepped up in a big way in the Gasparilla Bowl victory over Florida, but you saw over that second half of the season, maybe they were getting worn down. What's the grind like of a season?
It definitely wears on you, and that's what they say. The strength training you do in the off season is what protects you for the season, and that's so true because you just get worn out, and your maintenance protocols becomes really the most important portion of your toolbox. It's rough. You're getting cracked every single play. You're getting popped. You're getting dinged up. People hitting your knees. People stepping on your feet. I mean, it's taken me the last 2 years of not really playing to actually unravel a lot of those ailments I've had in my own legs and stuff from just getting stepped on and squished all the time. So it's been a really good learning experience. And I would I think the guys it's just rough overall, but that's just the trenches. That's the trench life.
We brought in a transfer from Virginia, Ryan Swoboda, who stands 6'10". We also have Paul Rubelt, also 6'10". This may be a silly question, but can you almost be too tall as an offensive lineman? Is 6'10"? What challenges does that present to somebody playing the O line at that height?
Obviously, the first thing that I think of is knee health and ankle, just the lower extremity health of the athlete, because it's really easy to get locked up. Then I also worry about speed, because a lot of big guys don't have a ton of speed. They're kind of, I don't want, for a lack of a better words, oafy. But I think that with, again, strength training, because there's guys in the league that are that big, but they're just monsters. They're monsters in the weight room, they're monsters in the gym. And so that can reinforce all those concerns. I think we saw that with like guys like, I mean, this is not football related, but Taco Falls did that, I think, and that's what really elevated his game. Was he had some really good strength training occur, and that's it upped his stock value because he became that much more stable as an athlete. And I think if he really buys into his strength training protocols, he should be an asset. I mean, but one other concern is that the quarterback can't see over him.
You played under a couple of different styles. You played under O'Leary. You played under Frost. What's your preference? Do you just like a power running game? You like the way Malzahn's running it now, or do you like the more high-paced, fast offense?
I love the fast-paced offense that we had with Frost, because you couldn't. It became a will versus will type of thing, where your conditioning versus my conditioning. And how much more of a technician you were versus how much more of a technician they were, and you could just wear them out, and you literally could see it happening throughout the game. You could see the defensive linemen start backing up off the ball. You could see them breathing harder. You could see it, and you knew that you had them when that was happening. And I think that is what I liked so much about it. But I am a sucker for power play. I am a sucker for pulling guard plays. I'm a sucker for all that. I love smash mouth football. I just like bread and butter. We're gonna run it down your throat. Get ready. I would like for our program to be where we just tell them, hey, we're gonna run up the middle right now, and just like every sign in the world, and stop us if you can.
Such a change of pace from what you were doing as a football player to now doing art and creating. And your latest piece, a dedication to the late running back Otis Anderson. Just talk about the inspiration that you had for creating that piece and what you plan to do with it.
Yeah, what I plan on doing with it is I'm planning on giving the piece to his mother. That whole situation kind of hit a weird chord with me. I had a lot of people pass last year in my family and in my life. And when Otis's passing occurred, I was pretty shocked, as everyone was. But I'm going to give that piece. I'm going to give that painting to his mother, and then my goal is to make. I don't know how many I'm going to make yet, but I'm going to make a couple hundred posters, and I'm going to give posters to my teammates and some of his fraternity brothers. I'm just going to gift them to them. And then I'm going to sell some to my Twitter fans and my UCF fans and in general, and then give 50% of the proceeds to his mother. And then the red smoke in the piece is to symbolize the red from his fraternity is a cap. And then obviously on his forehead, and then the dove is for peace, and just that he rest easy, So it's just a sad piece overall. It was actually really challenging to paint, to let myself be in that mental headspace for that long. So it was really great reflection, though. Count your blessings, and the moment is the most precious part of your day right now, So
how has it felt for you to see the reaction that Night Nation has shown you in support of your artwork?
I would not be where I'm at today without Night Nation. I wouldn't have anywhere near the level of success that I've had without Night Nation, and I'm just unbelievably grateful. And it's humbling, because it just is. cannot believe the reception I get. It's always positive because it's a little nerve-wracking every time you post something new, and you're kind of like wondering about the reception you're going to have from it, because it's a little piece of myself every time I post something. And the fact that the fans constantly enjoy what I'm putting out is wild to me. And I feel so blessed and I feel so fortunate. And I'm thrilled for the future to continue to create quality content for y'all.
Keep doing what you're doing. Aaron Evans, we thank you for stopping by the Sons of UCF Live tonight.
Yeah, I hope you have a great night, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
You know, he said something there a moment ago about strength training. Remember, we just talked about the hiring of Terry Mahajer, Gus Malzahn, and then Gus putting together his staff late, right, in the process, and then having to start spring camp. And we saw the injuries occur and some questions that came from fans about strength and conditioning. They're going to have a full year under their belt now.
Yeah, I think a lot of the injuries last year, though, when you look at them, some of them feel like freak injuries, right? Just plays that I think, Bowser getting hit in the knee. I mean, you can strength train all you want. You get hit in the kneecap, that's going to hurt. So I think I am curious. I know the offseason, we always make fun of the spring practice and the 5 minutes of throwing the football high in the air and what happens. But ultimately, that is the foundation for how the season can be built, right, in the weight room and on the practice field. So I will be curious to see how Coach Dawson, who's, from just a collegiate perspective, regarded as one of the best out there, how we can take this entire off season and build up this roster, build up this team, because I do think, to Aaron's point, that longevity will be huge. We saw last year how much depth hurt UCF not having as much as they wanted. Part of the depth issue is staying healthy, so I think that's going to be a big cog going into the next season. Health and stability of the team overall.
Yeah, this is football. There's going to be injuries. There's no team that goes the season without any major injuries. We're going to have some. The key now is that the roster is different. We have more depth built up over the year now that Gus has had that year of recruiting. And going forward, the second and third stringers should be more equipped to come in and help contribute.
I'm looking forward to seeing this Ryan Swoboda. What'd you say? It was 6'10", right? About 320?
6'10", yep.
Mikey Keene lists himself.
Can he rebound?
Almost coming up in a second, yes. Yeah. Mikey Keene is listed, I believe, as 5'11". I'm not. I think it's a little generous on the 5'11", but it was interesting. He's got to see over him, right? And that guy is a big guy, Ryan Swoboda, and you think that he'd most likely land in a starting role for the Knights this season. So it'll be something interesting to watch. Perhaps we'll get some glimpses of that when training camp opens. About 5 weeks away or so. Mike, you had the good segue to basketball. I'm sure you've got plenty to say. Men's basketball loses at Wichita State, 84-79. Not a good night for the Knights when they're giving up 84 points, right? Fair to say, not good. And Johnny Dawkins in the post game talked about how they can learn from this and what's next.
No, absolutely. We have to make sure to get our minds right. We have to, learn from this game, get better from it. I thought there were some positives we'll take away from the second half, and we'll show our guys. And we'll show our guys, some of the things that we have got to improve in. Like, we can't give up 84 points in a basketball game. That's just not who we are defensively. And it starts on that end of the floor. And then between that and defensive rebounding, closing the possessions out, we have to get better in those areas, and that's what we're going to focus on.
All right.
Adam, what positives did you see?
Oh boy. I mean, they got down early. It was not a very great start overall. They fought back. I mean, they got within 10-8 at halftime. It felt like they were within striking distance for a while there. So once again, similar to the ECU game, they got down, they battled back. So you do love the fight. You love that some guys are able to get hot, hit some shots. I actually like Jamil Reynolds. He played a ton of minutes in this game. I thought he brought some good energy down low. CJ Walker, same. Seems like he gets the ball in the post. He's ready to try to make a play. But overall, it just felt like we were in neutral for the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game. And sure, we can shoot our way back at times, but if we're going to keep digging holes like this, it's going to be tough to win ball games, particularly road games in conference. So, I mean, kudos to the guys for the fight. Again, I think Jamil and CJ played pretty well on the inside, but just can't get behind that much and keep trying to pull miracles from behind every time. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, it's becoming a trend now, the slow starts. We've seen it. We can't think that we're going to come back from 20 points down every week like we did against East Carolina. We almost did it. We were down 16 in this game on the road, cut it to 3 I was in it for the last minute. I still thought we had a chance. We cut it to 6 again, and then just really some unforced errors throughout that game. A lot of traveling calls, throwing the ball away on passes out of bounds. Just some sloppy play, unforced errors that was driving me nuts last night.
Brandon Mahan with 20 points, Darius Johnson with 12. You have that feeling, like you said there, that they could come back if someone like Brandon can hit threes, hit a couple of threes there and get him back in the game. But boy, it seemed like every time UCF had a three, Wichita State had a three. Let's bring in former UCF player, BJ Taylor, who joins us, good enough to join us again this week. BJ, welcome in to the Sons of UCF Live. Two things stand out to me. You heard Coach Dawkins there say, they gave up 84 points, and you know how often he says that this is a team that prides itself. His teams are priding themselves on defense. And the other is that Wichita State went to the free throw line 40 times.
Yeah.
It's not a good recipe there.
No, it's certainly not a good recipe. Good to see you guys. Good to see Mike back. I'm glad he's with us. Definitely not a good recipe last night with 40 free throws from Wichita. They got 20 free throws out of a freshman, Ricky Council, and that's far too many. That's James Harden kind of numbers from the free throw line. So whenever you give a guy 20 free throws, whenever you give a team 40 free throws, and combine that with our 16 turnovers, it's going to be hard to be successful, right? So I think for this team, we've really got to we get back to the drawing board and figure out how to cut down on those turnovers and keep the other team off the line.
BJ, we saw it last night. We saw it against ECU. UCF seems to get off to slow starts. It takes a while for them to kind of get into the game and get their rhythm going. What do you attribute to that? Is that maybe getting used to the arena? Is that just, maybe not feeling their way into the game? What do you attribute the slow starts to in the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think, first of all, it comes down to sort of a mental disposition entering the game. When you go on the road, when you go to Wichita, it's going to be loud. They're going to be a ruckus fan base. They're very passionate about their team. And even when you saw it at USF, right, these road games in conference are going to be a challenge. And our guys have to approach the game with the mentality and the understanding that road conference basketball isn't going to be a cakewalk. I don't care what Wichita State's record is or what USF's record was when we entered that game. They're at home. They're going to play with a little more motivation and a little more energy than you might see from them on a night-to-night basis, right? The only team in our conference that really didn't have a solid home court was Tulane, right? Tulane didn't have a lot of fans. They just wasn't, a big basketball place, right? They had a small arena, things like that. So Tulane felt more like a neutral site game, but ECU, Wichita, even Tulsa, it's not going to be an easy game, right? So our guys really have to approach the game with the mentality that, listen, it's going to be a battle, it's going to be a fight. Forget what their record is, right? And the second part of my answer to your question is, I think it sort of becomes a habit, Adam. Like, we're all creatures of habit. It's all human nature to fall into what we were successful for before. And our team now, we fell behind against ECU and we made a comeback, right? We fell behind against Tulane over the weekend and we rallied behind it and made a comeback, right? So you kind of start to fall into this habit of, hey, we can come out the gate a little slow and we can just hawk them down later on because we've done it before, right? But you're really gambling with the game at that point, and that's not something that you want to make a habit, right? Because like I just mentioned, it's very similar to gambling. Sometimes you bet it all on red 18 and it hits. You bet it all on red 18 again and then it hits. But most likely the next 8 times you bet it all on red 18, it's probably not going to hit. So even though it worked, it's not something that you should repeat, right? And our team can't come out with the approach like it doesn't matter how we start the game because we can mount this comeback in the end. The cardiac nights and the cardiac stuff is cool, but you'd much rather just have a nice steady pulse at all times and win the game that way.
A quick
talked a few times about. Oh, go ahead.
How long does it take a player to get warmed up in a visiting arena? Obviously, the shooting backdrop is going to be different. The court's different. Does it take a while for someone to kind of get used to a visiting arena when they get there?
I think the biggest thing is matching the other team's intensity, Adam. That's the hardest part of starting a game. I'll give you an example. You saw it for us at home against Memphis, right? We can't deny the fact that us playing at home helped us beat Memphis a couple weeks ago. We had the fans behind us, we had our atmosphere, and it really propelled our guys to victory there. So I think the biggest part is matching the other team's intensity. And for our team right now, we're a jump shooting team, right? That's what we do. When we make shots, we play well. Make our threes, we get it going. We get, you see us get the whole energy changes, right? So we're really, falling into a sort of path of, if we shoot the ball well, we're good, but when we don't shoot the ball well, things tend to go the other way for us, and that's hard to do when you're playing on the road, right? Because shots aren't always going to fall. You hear coaches say it all the time, but it's the truth, right? That's why you hear coaches say defense travels and defense wins in the postseason, right? I don't care what sport we're talking about. I mean, you can look at the NFC, divisional round last weekend. Green Bay has one of the most transcendent quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers, right? But that 49ers defense travels in inclement weather. It's the same thing in basketball. When you go on the road, the shots aren't always going to fall. You're not always going to be able to put up 85, 90 points, and Darren Green isn't going to make 5 or 6 threes, and Brandon Mahan isn't going to make 4 or 5 threes, tough shots, things like that. But defense is sort of something that no matter what, Adam, we don't have to adjust to the road crowd to play defense, right? Defense is energy, effort, communication, and chemistry, right? So we don't have to adjust. But shots, offense, that's a little bit more variable. That doesn't always fall no matter who you are. So I think for us, we have to really focus on how we're going to impact other teams defensively, and that should propel our offense.
We've talked the last few weeks about losing to teams with losing records like USF, and now Wichita was winless in the conference, and they were the hungrier team. When are we going to be that hungry team? It's getting late early now. We got our toughest test on Saturday night. Is it now? Is it time for the UCF to be that hungry one?
I love Mike because Mike always comes in with a nice, strong question. I love it.
You missed me.
I love it, Mike. I love it. No, it's certainly time for a sense of urgency, Mike. I'll say that. It is time now. We're about 8 games through conference play, so the opportunities to get good wins going into March, it's going to continue to dwindle, right? So we have number 7 Houston coming into town this week, and Houston has been just absolutely exceptional all season. They are physical, they are tough, they are well coached. They present an enormous for our team, but it's a great opportunity to get a really big win. So for us, we do have opportunities left on the schedule to, make some really, good wins on our resume, but we have to, like we're speaking on, we have to have a sense of urgency moving forward into March.
I'm in the weekly media sessions with Coach Dawkins, the post game, and I'll hear him say, we need to learn from this. We need to get better. Brandon Mahan, Darius Perry, there are 10 games left in the regular season. I kind of think they are what they are. Am I wrong?
No. At this point, guys that are 5th-year seniors, have seen as much college basketball as they have seen. They're going to be the kind of players that they've met. And we've seen them play really good ball at times. And, we've seen them, kind of be inconsistent, which is frustrating for fans, which is frustrating for players, which is frustrating for coaches. It's frustrating for everybody when guys that you see, have certain abilities don't always bring that to the forefront and bring that to the table. So, moving forward, somebody on this team has to step up as a leader, right? Somebody has to go and sort of take the bull by the horns for, not to make a USF phrase, but, somebody has to step up and sort of be that guy in the locker room and say, listen, we can't come out slow like we did against Wichita. We can't come out slow like we did against ECU. That crap isn't going to cut it, right? Somebody has to be that guy in the locker room. It has to be that voice that others are going to follow and really be someone on the floor who motivates the team to do these sort of things, right? When I was on the team, that was something that I always prided myself in, being that guy who was going to set the tone for the team, and then it kind of trickled down to everybody else, right? So somebody in the locker room, whether it's Darius Johnson as a freshman, whether it's a senior now who's coming up on his last couple months of basketball, and finally realizes this is it, somebody on the team has to step up and be an on-court leader and say, listen, we have the capability to do things. We've done it before. Now we need to go out there and just perform.
BJ, this year we've seen the Knights employ a lot of full court pressure, which, if you think about it, makes sense, right? They got a lot of young, versatile defensive players, kind of like the old Eric Spoelstra positionless type of concept, right? But at times that can lead to easy baskets, right? If it gets broken too soon. Is there a point where you say to yourself, hey, maybe the full court pressure isn't worth it, and you'd like to see UCF maybe kind of drop back versus that? Or do you do what you do best, right? Or do you continue to press even though you may give up some easy baskets at times?
Yeah, that's a good question, Adam. I think for this team, obviously the idea behind pressing is to speed the game up, right? When you play a half-court game, for example, my years at UCF, we played a half game. We hardly ever pressed. If we did, it was just to slow the other team down. But we weren't trying to get steals, right? But our identity was sort of a physical, grinded out, tough sort of game. This team doesn't really like to do that as much, right? So you want to press because hopefully we can create some turnovers. Hopefully we can get out in the open floor and lead to some easier baskets for our team. I definitely understand what you mean about you have to see how the game is going. If the press isn't getting anything done, obviously we have to, fall back and, get into more of a half court. But for us, we're at our best when we're in the full court because we're trying to get the guys out in the open floor so that Darren Green can get transition looks. Because when we get into a slow it down half court type of game, that just isn't this team's makeup to play that kind of ball.
I know the biggest key to the game on Saturday. It has nothing to do with full court presses and easy buckets. It's will you be in your Jack Nicholson, Spike Lee seats right there on the court side, like I saw you a couple weeks ago.
Mike, you know what? I'm gonna grant your wish, brother. I think I'll be there. I'm gonna grant your wish. Now, I don't know if I had on. I don't know if I was on my Jack Nicholson, Spike Lee. I was more in the corner, Mike. I was down every single time it was a timeout. We had the fighting Knights just jamming in my ear. I still can't hear out my left ear, to be quite honest with you. But it's okay, right?
Can they get you a little closer to center or what? I mean, tell them who you are.
Well, no, listen, Mike. Listen, I just take what I can get. All right, we got some real generous boosters, I'll say, that pay this center court, right? And I'm not there with it, so I take anything I can get. Anything gets me close to the game, you're not gonna hear no complaints out of me, brother.
Monday before the media availability with Coach Dawkins, I saw you out at the practice court there, at the court, at the stadium, at the field stadium, arena. That's the third one, arena. And I wanted to say hi, but you got out of there. But we asked Coach Dawkins, about you being out there, and he compared you, Darius Johnson, to you.
Yeah, well, I think, one, they're both extremely competitive, and that's a good quality to have. They both have a good understanding of the game. Both of them are scoring point guards, which means, if you need baskets, they can get you that. Not only can they facilitate and make guys better, but they're very accomplished at finding their teammates when they have to as well. And so there are a lot of similarities.
So what do you think about that?
No. Obviously, Coach is spot on with the things that he sort of, highlighted. I think Darius is you see him sort of grow and come into his own as a player. I think the biggest thing for DJ that I always tell him is I want DJ to be the best version of DJ that he can be. He's going to get a lot of those comparisons to me and the things I did as a player. Obviously, with people calling him DJ and my name BJ, that's a similarity for you right there. But I want him to be the best version of himself that he can be, because when you have a young player and you put those kind of expectations on him too much, sometimes it's not fair for him. So I really want him to be the best version of himself so that he can go on to be just as good or exceed what I was able to do.
Are you mentoring or giving some pointers? What do you when you're out there?
Yeah, so I talk to all the players as much as I can, just to try to, give my 2 cents and sort of, pass on the things that helped our team be successful and pass on the things that helped me be successful as a player, right? I think that's one of the best things you can do as a former player, because it can't always come from the coaches, right? When it comes from a former player, that's why if you look at Duke's staff, that's why Coach K hires only former players: Nolan Smith, John Shire, Jeff Capel, Chris Collins. Somebody only hires former players because former players relate to the current players in a way that coaches sometimes can't. So I'm always trying to just, help them as much as I can and do what I can to impart a little bit of wisdom on them, and hopefully some of it sticks. So that's really the gist of it for me when I'm out there. On another note, I did want to bring this up, Trace, because I forgot last week, but I wanted to give as much due credit to the UCF women's basketball team as I could. They're 13-3. They are absolutely killing it. Coach Abe, Massini, Diamond Battles, they're having a spectacular season. So if you haven't been out to support them, get out to support the women's basketball team, because they've certainly been laying it out there on the line. And you want to talk about a team that's going to play with passion. Coach Abe's teams are going to play with a lot of passion, trust me.
And a lot of fierce defense. They keep opponents down. How's skills training going for you? You still lining up clients left and right?
Yep, no, skills training going well. So like I said, still continuing to work with the young athletes, and it's really going well. I've been spending a lot more time doing some radio and high school sports stuff, but I still, I'm working with the young athletes when I can. So it's exciting. Mike, how are you doing, brother? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I was on vacation last week. I'm sorry I missed you. But see you back though.
No,
I haven't texted you or called you yet, but
no,
I have your number now.
I gave up on that a couple weeks ago. All right, I'm just happy to see you here and in good health. Last week I popped in and you weren't here. I said, "Oh,
yeah,
crap. What?"
It happens more than it happens a lot. We learned last week. You're a football guy. Give us a prediction this weekend. We got Rams, Niners. We got Bengals, Chiefs. Who do you like?
Oh well, I think that Rams pass rush is too much. I think Von Miller, Aaron Donald rushing up the middle. You got Leonard Floyd out there, Jalen Ramsey at corner. And me personally, to be quite honest, I'm rooting for Matthew Stafford. He's been great for so many years down there in Detroit, and that's a tough place to win, as we all know. So I really hope that he can get one. And then on the other side, I'm not going to bet against Mahomes at this point. I'm just not going to do it. I think Kansas City's got another chance to sort of they kind of got put in an underdog sort of role this year with that slow start, and everybody kind of doubted them. I think it kind of created a different dynamic that they weren't used to. So I'm hoping we get Chiefs, Rams, Super Bowl.
Good.
Sounds like it'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see if they can spring the upset Saturday night, though. First, the Knights over number 7 Houston. We'll be on Wednesday next week, so hopefully you'll be able to join us then. We'll be talking about this Houston one and preview the war on I-4 on Thursday. BJ Taylor, we thank you for being with us again this week.
All right, guys. I hope you guys have a good weekend, and hopefully we can get one.
All right, go Knights.
Thanks, BJ.
Yep, no problem.
Well, he mentioned women's basketball. They came back. They rallied to beat Tulane 69-67. They're 13-3, 5-1 overall. The trio of Diamond Battles, Tay Sanders, and Massanikaba scored 57 of the 69 points against Tulane. They are at Wichita State, which, of course, for the men is a house of horrors, but hopefully more success for the women. And then they host Temple, a rescheduled game. That's a Monday 3 o'clock tip at the arena. Tennis kicks off this weekend. Kicks off? What's the right term for that, Adam, Mike? Kicks off?
Starts tennis?
Well, they're home for the ITA
Volleys?
weekend. I don't know. 10th ranked women's tennis. They're 1-0. They've got 50th UC Santa Barbara, 22nd Auburn, 31st Arizona State, all at home out at their facilities here in Orlando. And men's tennis, they're 20th ranked. They've got 51st Louisville, 19th Stanford, 23rd Louisville. ITA kickoff weekend. Good luck to them. Congrats to Renaya Jones, previous guest on the Sons of UCF Live, AAC Track Athlete of the Week. Knights are 36 nationally, 2nd in the South region. Couple of sound on tapes this week in the mailbag. How about Robert's first? You said he had a guest. I'm looking forward to this. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, so Robert is full on co-producer of the show these days. He's giving us when to switch to different camera angles, questions to ask, and apparently now he's also a guest booker.
What's going on, Night Nation? It's your boy JJ, Jordan Johnson, better known these days as Coach J. As you may or may not know, I am the assistant offensive line coach at Northeastern State University here in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Now, as I walk around this stadium, I have a question for you guys from my boy, 2 letters, 2 words on Twitter. What do y'all think of stadium capacity and how it relates to success on a football field or in a basketball arena? Like, what do you think about that? Let me know what you think.
Strong on the walk and talk game for Jordan Johnson. I like that.
I mean, you brought the Griffin, so he went out and got Jordan Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't know what's next around here. Mike and I just sit back and watch it. But his question was interesting because I feel like he would know better than us. But BJ just answered that, right? He said essentially in the Memphis game, the crowd propelled us initially in that game. We talked about Wichita's crowd. So I got to believe that the crowd and the energy that you get from a packed house or a really passionate fan base helps out a ton. So that'd be my guess. I guess Jordan would know better than us, but I think that'd be my answer to his question.
I think it depends on the enthusiasm of the crowd. We've seen stadiums that hold 100,000 people, and they're not as loud as our stadium that holds half as much. So we have that young fan base. If we can pack the arena, that place is going to be crazy, just like the stadium is. You know, we got a young fan base. So I think it depends on the fans itself, not exactly the number of fans.
Yeah, I think it's filling the venue. So in the case of football, 45,000, if it's packed, it's very loud. It reminds me, talking about quiet stadiums. Remember when George O'Leary talked about how quiet it would be at Ohio State, and he got ripped on sports radio up in Columbus. And then I was at that game, and he was right. They watched the game. Now, when Ohio State scored, of course, they got loud. But most of the time, they were just watching the game. So I think it's packing what you have there. And certainly at the arena, home crowd advantage can be a force. In Michigan, it was sort of a 50-50 split. They matched the energy all night long, so that was key. And Houston's going to bring it. They're going to have a tough one. We've got another sound on tape, a little walk and talk as well from Mary.
Hello, sons of UCF. Mary and George here with a kind of question. We would like for you to rank the top 5 athletic facilities priorities for us. We really appreciate you watching this video and answering our questions, and hope you guys have a great show tonight. Do you have any questions, George?
Nope.
Okay, what do we say? Go Knights.
Hold on.
Thank you, Mary and George. Good one on top 5 facilities. It's usually geared around football. It comes ahead of our question about grading Terry Mohajir. There hasn't really been a lot of upgrades. There's some new artificial turf at the baseball stadium, and a scoreboard is going up. A lot of things need upgrades, right? I mean, I've been saying this on Twitter. When you compare to the facilities in the Big 12, UCF's going to be in the bottom tier comparatively to most of those. Softball needs upgrade. Baseball needs significant upgrade. Arena's state of the art, in that regard, and football still needs upgrades, as we've seen rolled out from Terry Mohajir a couple months ago.
Yeah, Mike's the top 5 guy, so I'll let him give you the list on that. But obviously, the soccer field is literally just a patch of grass around a track. I know soccer is a bit of a limbo, and there's a question coming up in the mailbag about that. I think that has to be looked at some point. Obviously, football, I mean, the revenue you generate from football would lead you to think that we need to try to find ways to increase seating capacity, ergo increase revenue. While it's not necessarily a need, it may be a really important cog in the financial wheel. Basketball, the only thing I would argue is that stupid, silly wall behind the student section that just has like the holograph nitro head. We need like an Aaron Evans, painting or something up there. That wall just looks a little bit bleak. And you mentioned both the football or the baseball and softball stadiums, Trace, also probably need a facelift. So is there a facility that didn't need something to be touched up with? I don't know if maybe that's the better way to think about it.
Yeah, if you had to pick one, it'd be the arena. It's probably the best one we have. Soccer, you mentioned, you throw in the track with that, the track and field to go with the soccer stadium, and they can use a whole new venue. All this is in the plans, too, that Terry brought out a couple months ago. So it's going to happen. It's just going to take some time, and it's going to take a lot of money.
Got to thank you, Mary and George, for your question. Go Knights. At Deportes Man 85, does the men's team have to beat Houston at least once to get to the NCAA? Seems like if they lose both and to Cincinnati, they're on the outside looking in. At this point, they've dug themselves a hole. So, yes, I mean, in the odds of beating Houston Saturday, Houston's good. 7th overall, 3rd in the net, right? They're good. To spring an upset there, they'd almost have to now to get really back into this conversation. I'm not sure finishing 9-9 in league play without maybe a deep run in the conference tournament gets them in.
Yeah, obviously Houston wins is going to be huge because the challenge is we have to offset some of these terrible net losses we've had now, right? So obviously the Cows net loss. Mike mentioned earlier, Wichita State had not been playing well in conference. So yeah, the loss is the loss. And unfortunately in college basketball, not every loss is created equal. The Cows loss is much more damaging than, maybe a loss at a buzzer beater to a Memphis or something like that. So you're going to need at least one probably both Houston wins to feel a little bit comfortable. But I think we're going to ride that bubble all year long. I think we're probably on the downside of it, where we're going to need to make a nice tournament run and come out with a win of games in a row for us to be able to ultimately get there. But with the inconsistency right now, it's going to be tough for you to. BJ talked about putting some money on 18 red. I don't know if I'd put any money on Knight's tournament at this point.
Yeah, what do we have to get to realistically? Probably third place in this conference, right? I mean, Houston seems like they're going to run away with the conference. Then you got SMU, which that's the one that hurts because we only played them once and we lost that game, in a game that we had a chance to win. And then the other one's the Temple. The other games, we're losing to middle of the road to bottom tier teams in this conference. That's what's killing us. So we're going to have to beat one of these top teams. And Houston, we may get 3 shots at them if we see them in the conference tournament. So we got to at least win one.
At DIKAIA night, what do you think will happen with men's soccer heading into the Big 12 since the Big 12 doesn't sponsor men's division? And do you think UCF adds any sports that the Big 12 does sponsor that we currently don't have? I think they're trying to find the right fit. They've talked about Conference USA, perhaps even the American, though the American's adding programs now to replace Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF that already have soccer programs. They could still end up all right in this, especially if they were able to stay in the American. And I don't think they add anything. I don't know where everybody, I don't know, you guys watch the show and are Knight fans. I don't know where you think all this money is to be adding things. Beach volleyball would be a good ad. Swimming would be a good ad, but you're talking about adding facilities. There's no money for these things.
Yeah, I wrote down swimming just as my choice if you made me pick one. But yeah, to your point, I think it's going to be so hard. You think about starting a program up from scratch and then rolling into a quote unquote Power 5 conference and trying to be competitive. I mean, that's just not something that's going to be very easily done. I'm not quite plugged in on the club sports scene. Is there a club sport that's had some success that maybe you can roll in there? But that's a really daunting task to start something from scratch and get into a really competitive league. So swimming would be my guess because Florida is obviously a swimming-rich state. University of Florida obviously has a pretty good swimming tradition, but I think either way, it's a really tall ask for anybody.
What about lacrosse? I guess they could probably use the soccer field, right? And the facilities are kind of there. I see people playing lacrosse all the time down. I think it's a growing sport in Florida. I'm sure we'd be way behind, but you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, I don't know if the Big 12 offers it, but lacrosse is a one that wouldn't be as difficult from a facility standpoint. At Manny Morris. Hi, Manny. Do you know where KZ is registered for his new family edition? Congratulations to him shortly after the engagement announcement. Now, baby news. Do you know where he's registered? I do know that he should be getting his invitations and announcements through Paper and Lace, I believe. Correct? Isn't that have you worked on that?
A lot more people are saying that, Trace. A lot more people are saying that.
Where is that deal? That would be a good. Wouldn't that be a good trade out at least if you don't have him spend money? At least have him be a weekly contributor to the Suns.
He's going to have a lot of announcements because I'm sure there's going to be a baptism coming up. We already know that there's going to be a wedding. There's going to be all kinds of things he's going to need invitations and cards sent out. And there's only one place to go for that. Paperandlaceboutique.com.
That all just thank you, Manny, for setting all of that up nicely for Mike. Our buddy Brian W. Peterson, who really kicked off all of this walk and talk question stuff a couple weeks back. He said it's been roughly a year since Danny White left for Tennessee. Rate Terry Mohajir's performance since he took over as UCF AD. Now, he also asked the question, if you could, would you keep Timo or take Danny White back? But let's be fair in this. He said it himself that the Big 12, it was on third base when he came in. I give him Gus, right? If you want to give him the 2-for-1 with the Gators, okay. What else? Hasn't hired anybody. And
I'm going to go B plus though, Trace.
B minus for me. B minus.
I go B plus. He put out at least a blueprint, a plan for athletic facility upgrades. Now I know he didn't talk about how he's going to fund it, and I know we don't have any money for it, but he at least had a vision.
Those are important
let me put together. Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Because
he put out
not,
a vision.
You're the cows. They come out with a
well, let's
diagram.
not insult everybody around here, Trace.
Well,
even their diagrams.
I'm not trying to compare him to that, but I'm saying coming out with a plan and showing some pictures. Isn't show me.
I would hasten to say though, it's a little bit more than what Danny White did. I know Recovery Cove was really the thing he came out with, so we'll give him credit for that. And again, we were told that he lobbied heavily for that Gasparilla Bowl to get UCF to play UF, and so I will give a tip of that for that. It wasn't that he lobbied for that; he made that happen for us. So I'll give him a B+. He hasn't done anything to the negative. Yeah, to your point, I don't know that there's a groundbreaking. We're not going to name a statue after him just yet, but first year in the job, first year in a Power 5 style conference, I'll give him a B+.
The money he needs to build these things, it's going to be coming. We're going to be getting 10 times as much money once we join the Big 12, so that's going to take care of itself. He hasn't fired anybody yet, and you know how we feel about hot seats, so you can't hire anybody if you don't fire anybody first, right? So that'll come eventually too. And I just like Timo better just because he's more fun. He's a better personality. You see him singing, you see him dancing, you see him doing TikToks. So for that, I'll take Timo over Danny White.
What's your grade?
Grade? I give him a B right now. Incomplete, I guess.
So we got a B positive. I give him a B-. You weigh in right down the middle there.
Right in the middle.
And we end with something that you talked about on the show. By the way, great with Javier Borlegui. Legend somehow flies under the radar because of the big accomplishment being, what is it now, 20 years since the kick? 21 years since the kick against Alabama, which is a testament to the program that there have been so many big wins that have kind of pushed that one, because that Alabama win was the biggest win for a long time on the board. But Javier Borlegui, and you released that on the YouTube channel. Plug there, subscribe to the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. But you talked about Seinfeld and top 5 heels. Chris Robinson question for you guys.
Yeah, so we were reading a new segment, Twitter or blank, and we came across Chris Robinson's tweet about top 5 heels of Seinfeld. Mike wanted a top 5 list. I reached out to Chris, so I can unveil exclusively Chris's top 5 list of Seinfeld heels. Now, for those who aren't aware, Trace's Twitter handle is @SeinPez. So Trace is as big a Seinfeld fan as at least we know. I know Mike has seen every episode of Seinfeld at least 5 or 6 times. So the official top 5 list of heels. Number 5, Sue Ellen Mischke.
Okay. I provided him with a top 5. It sounds like he's stealing mine, but go ahead. That was my number 5.
Oh, no, he sent this to me days ago. I saw your little thanks for stealing the show content for Twitter. No, I saw that. This was days ago. Number 4, Jack Clumpus at number 4, Seinfeld heel. Okay. Any arguments?
Take the pen.
Okay, we're good.
Take the pen.
No, I'm not ready to agree or disagree. I want to hear how the rest of the list.
Number 3, Uncle Leo.
Uncle Leo is a heel?
Uncle Leo's a heel. The eyebrows. Oh, all right. Number 2, Crazy Joe Davola.
Yeah, fair.
Yes, he was my number 1.
And the number 1 heel, according to Chris Robinson, Newman.
Well, he's the one that's on there the most.
He's on the most. Yes.
Yeah, you can't really argue that one too much. Where's Lloyd Braun? Where's the Soup Nazi?
Soup Nazi.
Tim Watley.
You think of Tim Watley as a heel?
Kind of, yeah.
It's a rabbit anti-dentite, Trace.
What about Willie the dry cleaner?
What about Tony the mechanic?
What about Elaine's father in the one episode?
Tony the mechanic, good.
I got a better
one.
Well,
Chris,
I got another list.
Well, Chris wasn't done, Mike. Hold on. You asked for this as well. Top 5 Seinfeld characters never actually seen on the show. So this is the top 5 characters.
This may be
you
just
don't actually
5,
ever
though.
see. Number 5, and this one I had to look. I thought hard about this one. I'm not even sure this counts, but number 5, the whale that George saves. I don't think you actually ever saw it on camera, but that's a great one. Number 4.
Talk about a hole in one.
Number 4, poor little Pincus, who was suspected to be killed by Steve Genderson. Number 3, Susie, who was Elaine's alter ego. Okay. Number 2, Cousin Jeffrey. That's a good one. And number 1, of course, Bob Sacamano. Never actually seen.
What about the Bubble Boy? We don't.
You saw his arms. Kind of.
Well, George Steinbrenner. We just kind
of saw the back of him.
So that counts as seeing him, which often by the way was Larry David.
Yeah, it was always Larry David. Larry David was also the lawyer in the Cape and the voice many times on TV. I have a top 5 list too from Seinfeld. We got time here. How about the top 5 movies that had on the show, like the fictional movie
Ooh.
titles that they had.
Rochelle.
Sack lunch better be up there someplace. Sack lunch better be up there.
A young girl's strange erotic journey from Milan to Minsk. That's number 1. Yeah, sack lunch I have at number 5, right? Number 4,
Wow.
prognosis negative.
Prognosis.
Negative. Number 3, chunnel. Remember that one? Everybody out of the tunnel. Number 2, death blow. The one that they were bootlegging movie.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
those are
I'm a
fine.
bootlegger now. Yeah.
And say number 1 again, because I like how you described it.
Rochelle, a young girl's strange erotic journey from Milan.
That's the perfect way to
Outside
The fun
looking
part
in,
is Nobody's watching this anymore on the bright side.
Brown-eyed girl, or what were the other ones that Kramer when he was on? He had the movie phone line.
voice. Yeah.
Why don't you just tell me which movie you want?
that was a good one. That's a good one.
Wow.
We could do a Seinfeld podcast. I could change the background, and we'll start another hour.
The top 5 list go from the Monday pod to the Thursday live show.
We felt, Trace, only you would appreciate the Seinfeld list, right? We knew this would be in your wheelhouse. When I sent Chris a message and said, hey, this is what we're thinking about, his response was, this is my kind of party. So Chris may be in for a 4-person Seinfeld memorial at some point if you're in for
that. Bob Sacamano. I like that. Good
Well,
stuff.
at least we know Chris is watching the last 5 minutes of this thing.
I doubt that.
In some form, live or in replay. Remember, Mike, Wednesday. We're live Wednesday because men's basketball plays Thursday, and we don't want to go head-to-head with that. War on I-4 rivalry. So Wednesday.
I'll check my calendar.
Wednesday at 8. You be there at 8, Mike, 7:59 for you. And we thank Aaron Evans. We thank BJ Taylor for stopping by and joining us. It's been a year at this, guys. We celebrated a year without you last week.
I know.
So,
I heard.
Yeah.
I got a bottle of champagne I'm going to crack open right now.
Adam said you might join us for the show, and we waited patiently, but you did not. So.
Yeah, you know what? I did think about it, and then I forgot all about it until it was like 9:02. I said, "Oh man, I missed it." I was hooking around the world at Epcot. It was a
well. There's a slogan. I was gonna do it, but I forgot about it. And thank you for not forgetting about us and watching the Sons of UCF Live. For Adam and Mike, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!
charge on.
Charge on.